Your husband tried to sell you.
She woke up in silk sheets that were not her husband's, and when the bedroom door opened, it wasn't the man she feared most. It was the one who owned her fate. Petra didn't know how she'd ended up in another man's bed. All she knew was that her husband was standing in the doorway, staring, not at her, at the man sitting calmly in the corner, the Korean man who hadn't said a word, the one who looked like he'd been waiting. And that was the moment she realized her husband wasn't the danger. Welcome back to Afro-Korean storytelling, my love. Please subscribe to get more beautiful stories on the channel. Like and comment where you're watching us from. It makes my day. 48 hours earlier, Petra's marriage was already dying. She just didn't know it yet. She'd been living in Seoul for 2 years. 2 years of trying to fit into a life that didn't want her. Her husband, Marcus, was American. Black American. He'd brought her here for work. His work, not hers. She'd crossed oceans for a marriage that no longer looked back at her. She'd left her family in Lagos, her career, her language, all for a man who barely looked at her anymore. Marcus worked late, every night. He said it was consulting, international business. But Petra wasn't stupid. She knew when a man was hiding something. She just didn't know what. When she asked him where he'd been, he'd kiss her forehead, tell her not to worry, tell her to go back to sleep. But Petra couldn't sleep because she felt something dark, like someone was watching her. Even when she was alone, she'd feel it in the grocery store, in the subway, walking home from the park, eyes on her back, a car that lingered too long, a man in a black suit who stood across the street. She told Marcus once. He laughed, said she was paranoid, said Seoul was safe. But Petra knew better. She knew what danger felt like. And it felt like the night she followed him, the night everything changed. Marcus had left the apartment at 11 p.m., no explanation. Just his phone, his keys, and a lie about meeting a client. So Petra followed him. She took a taxi, told the driver to stay back, watched Marcus's car wind through the streets of Gangnam, past the nightclubs, past the luxury hotels, until he stopped. At a building she didn't recognize. Tall, black glass, no signs. Marcus went inside, and Petra waited. 1 hour, 2. Then the door opened, and Marcus walked out. But he wasn't alone. There was a man with him, Korean, tall, expensive suit, and the way Marcus stood next to him, it wasn't equal. Marcus looked small, afraid. The Korean man said something. Marcus nodded, bowed slightly, and then the man looked up, straight at Petra's taxi, like he knew, like he'd known the whole time. She didn't know the man in that house was already watching her. The next morning, Marcus acted like nothing had happened. He made coffee, kissed her cheek, told her he had meetings all day, and left. Petra sat in their empty apartment and stared at the walls. Something was wrong. Something bigger than an affair. Bigger than lies. Marcus was scared. She'd seen it in his body language, the way he'd bowed to that man, the way his hands had trembled when he got back in the car. Her husband wasn't cheating. He was in trouble. And somehow, Petra was part of it. She spent the day trying to distract herself, cleaned the apartment, went to the market, bought vegetables she didn't need. But everywhere she went, she felt it again. Eyes. She turned around twice, saw no one, but the feeling didn't leave. By evening, she was exhausted. She made dinner, set the table for 2. Marcus didn't come home. She ate alone, washed the dishes, sat on the couch with the TV on mute. And that's when the phone rang. Unknown number. Petra almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Silence. Then a voice. Male. Korean accent. Smooth. Too calm. Mrs. Okafor. Her stomach dropped. No one in Seoul called her by her maiden name. She'd taken Marcus's last name when they married. Who is this? Someone who knows your husband very well. Her pulse quickened. What do you want? I want you to listen carefully. Your husband made a promise. He has not kept it. And now there are consequences. What promise? What are you talking about? The voice on the other end didn't answer right away. When he spoke again, it was quieter, more dangerous. "You will understand tonight. A car will come for you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Do not refuse." "I'm not going anywhere with Petra." He said her first name like he'd known her for years. "If you do not come, your husband will pay the price." He paused. "And if you don't come, someone else will." The line went dead. Petra stood frozen in the middle of her living room. Her hands were shaking. She tried calling Marcus. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. She didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window and watched the street below. Watched for black cars. For men in suits. For anything that looked wrong. By the time the sun came up, Marcus still wasn't home. And Petra realized something. She wasn't being watched. She was being hunted. The next evening, Marcus finally came back. He looked terrible. Eyes red. Shirt wrinkled. He wouldn't meet her gaze. "Where were you?" Petra demanded. "Work." "Don't lie to me, Marcus." He flinched. "I'm not lying. Someone called me last night. A Korean man. He knew my name. He said you made a promise. He said a car is coming for me tonight." Marcus went pale. "What did you tell him?" "I didn't tell him anything." He hung up. "Marcus, what is going on?" He ran his hands over his face. "You can't get in that car, Petra." "Then tell me why." "I can't." "You can't, or you won't." He looked at her then, really looked at her. And what she saw in his eyes wasn't love. It was guilt. "If you get in that car," Marcus said quietly, "I can't protect you." "Protect me from what?" He didn't answer. At 7:55 p.m., Petra stood by the window again. Marcus had locked himself in the bedroom, refused to come out, refused to explain. She should have stayed inside. She should have called the police, the embassy, someone. But she didn't. Because at exactly 8 p.m., a black car pulled up in front of their building, and Petra knew. This was the man from the glass building, the one Marcus had bowed to, the one who'd looked straight at her taxi like he could see through metal and glass and lies. The car door opened. A man stepped out. Not the driver. Someone else. Tall, sharp suit, face like stone. He looked up at her window and smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not a threat. Something worse. A promise. Petra's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Come down, or I come up." Her heart pounded. She looked back at the bedroom door. Marcus hadn't come out. He wasn't going to. So Petra made a choice. She grabbed her jacket, walked out of the apartment, took the elevator down, and stepped outside. The man was waiting. Up close, he was even more unsettling. Calm. Controlled. Like he'd done this 100 times. "Mrs. Okafor," he said. His English was perfect. "Get in." "Who are you?" "Someone your husband owes a debt to." He paused. His eyes went flat. "And someone who never collects twice." Petra's blood went cold. He opened the car door, gestured inside. Petra hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she thought of Marcus's face, the fear, the guilt, and she got in. The man slid in beside her, the door closed. The car pulled away from the curb, and that was when she realized he knew her husband. The car didn't take her far. 10 minutes, maybe 15. They stayed in Gangnam, turned down streets lined with private estates, gated properties, the kind of wealth that didn't advertise itself. The man beside her didn't speak, didn't look at her, just sat there like she was cargo. Petra's mind raced. What debt? What had Marcus done? And why was she the one being collected? The car stopped in front of a house, not a mansion, something quieter, modern, glass and steel, beautiful in a cold, precise way. The man got out first, opened her door. Inside. Petra didn't move. "I want answers." "You'll get them. Now." He tilted his head, studied her. "You're braver than he said you'd be." "Who said?" "Your husband." That stopped her. The man gestured toward the house. "Inside, Mrs. Okafor. You'll be safe here." "Safe from what?" He didn't answer. just turned and walked toward the entrance. Petra had two choices: stay in the car and wait for something worse, or follow him and find out what Marcus had done. She followed. The house was spotless, minimalist, expensive furniture, dark wood, white walls. But it didn't feel lived in. It felt like a trap. The man led her upstairs, down a hallway, stopped in front of a bedroom door. "You'll stay here tonight." Petra's stomach twisted. "Stay here? I'm not—" "You are not a prisoner, but you are not free to leave. Not yet." He opened the door. The room was large, a king-sized bed with silk sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It looked like a luxury hotel, but Petra knew better. "Why am I here?" she asked. The man finally looked at her, really looked at her. His eyes were dark, unreadable. "Because your husband made a deal, and he broke it." "What deal?" "That is between him and my employer." "Then why take me?" "Because you are leverage." He stepped back. "Do not try to leave. The doors are locked, the windows are reinforced, and there are men outside." He started to close the door. "Wait," Petra said. "What's your name?" He paused, looked at her one last time. "It doesn't matter." The door closed. She heard a lock click. Petra stood in the middle of the room, heart pounding. She was alone, trapped. And Marcus had put her here. She tried the door, locked, tried the windows. They didn't budge. She pulled out her phone. No signal. She sank onto the edge of the bed. Marcus had borrowed money, and now someone was collecting. But why her? Unless Marcus had offered her. The thought made her sick, but it made sense. The way he'd looked at her, the guilt, the fear. He'd known this was coming, and he'd let it happen. Petra lay back on the silk sheets, stared at the ceiling, but exhaustion pulled at her. She hadn't slept in 2 days. She closed her eyes, just for a moment. When she opened them again, the room was dark. She didn't know what time it was, didn't know how long she'd been asleep. But she knew something was wrong, because she wasn't alone anymore. There was someone sitting in the chair by the window, a figure in the shadows, still, silent, watching her. Petra's breath caught. She sat up slowly, her heart hammered against her ribs. "Who's there?" The figure didn't move. Then a voice, low, calm, Korean accent. "You sleep like someone who has nothing to fear." It wasn't the man from the car. This voice was different, deeper, older, more dangerous. "Who are you?" Petra whispered. The figure leaned forward. Moonlight caught his face, sharp features, cold eyes, a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. The man from the glass building. The employer. "I am the man your husband tried to cheat," he said quietly. Petra's throat went dry. "I don't know what he did." "I know." "Then why am I here?" He stood, slowly, moved toward the bed, stopped a few feet away. He didn't touch her, didn't move closer. He just looked at her, like he was deciding something. "You are here because your husband thought I wouldn't notice. He thought he could take my money, disappear, start over." "I didn't know. I know that too." His voice was so calm it was terrifying. "But it doesn't matter what you knew. What matters is what he owes and how he plans to pay it back. Then take it from him, not me." The man tilted his head. "He doesn't have it." "Then, so he offered you instead." The words hung in the air. Petra felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "He... what?" The man's expression didn't change. 3 months ago, your husband came to me. He needed money, fast. He said he had a business deal, promised he'd pay me back in 60 days. He paused. "He didn't." Petra's hands clenched the sheets. "When I asked him how he planned to settle his debt, he told me about you, an African woman, his wife, living in Seoul, isolated, no family here, no friends, no one who would notice if you disappeared for a while." Petra's stomach turned. "He didn't offer you explicitly, but he made it clear you were his collateral, his way out." He turned toward the door. Petra's voice cracked. Are you going to kill me? The man stopped, looked back at her. No. Then what? I'm going to let your husband think I might. He opened the door. Light from the hallway spilled in. Get some sleep, Mrs. Okafor. Tomorrow, he comes to get you. And then what? The man's eyes were unreadable. Then we see how much you're really worth to him. The door closed, and Petra realized something. She wasn't in this bed because of desire, or obsession, or romance. She was bait, and bait only works if the predator is watching. She heard footsteps in the hallway, voices, low, tense, then a sound that made her blood run cold. A door opening downstairs. A familiar voice. Marcus. The door opened, and her husband stepped inside. Petra heard Marcus before she saw him, his voice downstairs, frantic, pleading. Please, I just need to see her. I need to know she's okay. Another voice, calm, cold, the employer. You need to see her? Now you care? I've always cared. You used her as collateral. Silence. Then footsteps, coming up the stairs. Petra's heart raced. She stood from the bed, backed toward the window. She didn't know what she was going to say to him, didn't know if she could even look at him. The door opened. Marcus stepped inside first. His eyes found her immediately, red, swollen, like he'd been crying. Petra, don't. Her voice came out colder than she expected. Marcus froze. I didn't think it would go this far. Didn't think what would go this far? Your lies? Your debt? Using me as collateral? I didn't use you. Then what do you call this? The employer stepped into the room behind Marcus. He didn't say anything, just leaned against the door frame, watching. Like this was a show. Marcus took a step toward her. I was trying to protect you. Petra laughed, bitter, broken. Protect me? By letting them kidnap me? I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice, Marcus. You don't understand. Then make me understand, Petra's voice cracked. Tell me what you did. Tell me why I'm here. Marcus looked at the employer, then back at her. His hands were shaking. I borrowed money. A lot of it. I thought I could flip it, invest, make it back before anyone noticed. Borrowed from who? From him? Marcus gestured weakly toward the employer. The man didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. I thought I had more time, Marcus continued. You thought you could run, the man said quietly. Marcus flinched. You bought plane tickets to Lagos. 2 tickets, one way, leaving in 3 days. Petra's stomach dropped. Marcus's face went pale. You were going to run, Petra whispered. You were going to take me and disappear. I was trying to save us. Save us, or save yourself. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer. The man pushed off the door frame, stepped fully into the room. The air shifted, got heavier. Your husband came to me 3 months ago. He needed 200 million won, promised he'd double it in 60 days. He moved closer, slowly, like a predator circling. I gave him the money, because I thought he understood the consequences of lying to me. He stopped in front of Marcus. I was wrong. Marcus couldn't look at him, couldn't look at Petra. When the 60 days passed, I called him. He said he needed more time. His voice dropped. And then I found out he was planning to leave the country. Petra felt like she was watching her life collapse in real time. So I did what I do, the man said. I found his weakness. He looked at Petra. You. Marcus's breath hitched. Please, don't hurt her. She didn't do anything. I know she didn't. The man's tone didn't change. But you did. He turned back to Marcus. You told me about her. Remember? One night, you were drunk. You said you had a wife, African, beautiful. Didn't speak much Korean. Didn't have anyone here. Marcus's face crumpled. You said she trusted you completely, that she'd follow you anywhere. The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. So I knew. If I ever needed to remind you what you owed me, I'd take her. Petra couldn't breathe. You told him about me? I didn't think... You gave him a map, Marcus. Her voice broke. You told him exactly how to hurt you, and you used me to do it. I didn't mean... You meant it. Petra's hands were shaking. You knew what kind of man he was. You knew what he was capable of, and you still talked about me like I was nothing. The man watched them both, silent, calculating. Here's what's going to happen, he said finally. You owe me 200 million won, plus interest, 300 million total. Marcus paled. I don't have that. I know. Then what do you want? The man looked at Petra, then back at Marcus. I want you to choose. The room went still. What? Marcus whispered. You have two options. Option 1, you leave. Right now. Go back to Lagos. Disappear. I will not follow you. Marcus's eyes widened. And Petra? She stays here. Petra's heart stopped. For how long? Until your debt is paid. She will work for me. Nothing physical, nothing degrading, just work. And when the debt is cleared, she goes free. How long would that take? 5 years, maybe 6. Petra's knees nearly gave out. And option 2? Marcus's voice was barely audible. The man's expression didn't change. You stay. You work for me, directly. You do what I tell you, and in 2 years your debt is paid. Both of you go free. What kind of work? The man's smile was sharp. The kind you don't ask questions about. Marcus looked at Petra. She saw it in his eyes. He was calculating, weighing his options. She saw the exact moment he chose himself. I can't do 2 years of that, Marcus said quietly. You know what kind of work that is. I'd end up dead, or in prison. The man nodded slowly. So you choose option 1. You choose to leave, to save yourself, and leave her here. Marcus's throat worked. Can I have time to think? No. The word was final. You decide now, or I decide for you. Petra stared at her husband, waiting, hoping, praying he'd choose her, choose them. But Marcus looked at the floor, and she knew. I'm sorry, Marcus whispered. Don't. Her voice was ice. I can't do 2 years. I can't. Get out! Her scream echoed through the room. Marcus flinched, looked at the man. You promise you won't hurt her? I don't hurt people who don't deserve it. Marcus swallowed, nodded, then he turned, walked to the door, stopped. I love you, he said without looking back. Petra said nothing. Marcus left. The door closed behind him, and Petra stood there, shaking, broken. The man watched her, silent. He's not coming back, he said quietly. Petra's voice was barely a whisper. I know. He chose himself. I know. The man stepped closer, stopped a few feet away. Your husband finally understood. He was never the one in control. Petra didn't cry. She wanted to. But the tears wouldn't come. She just stood there, staring at the door Marcus had walked through, the door he'd closed behind him, the door that had locked her inside this life. The man hadn't moved. He was still watching her, waiting for something. A breakdown maybe, screaming, begging. But Petra gave him nothing. Sit, he said finally. I'd rather stand. Sit, please. The please surprised her. She looked at him. His face was unreadable. But there was something different in his voice. Less cold, less sharp. She sat on the edge of the bed. The man pulled the chair from the window closer, sat across from her. Not too close, but close enough that she could see his face clearly in the dim light. You want to know why I really brought you here? He said. You already told me. Leverage. That's part of it, but not all of it. Petra looked at him. Then what? The man leaned back, studied her. Your husband wasn't just planning to run. He was planning to sell you. The words didn't register at first. What? He contacted another group, not mine. People I do business with sometimes. Dangerous people. Petra's chest tightened. He told them he had a wife. African. No papers. No legal status in Korea. No one looking for her. Her breath caught. He asked them how much she'd be worth. The room tilted. You're lying. I'm not. You're trying to make me hate him. So I don't need you to hate him. The man's voice was calm, factual. I need you to understand what he was willing to do to save himself. Petra's hands were shaking. How do you know this? Because the man he contacted works for me. She stared at him. He came to me first, told me what your husband was offering, asked if I wanted to make a counteroffer. And? I said no. I don't buy people. I break men who try to sell them. Petra's throat was so tight she could barely breathe. Then why tell me this? Because you need to know who your husband really is. Why do you care? The man didn't answer right away. He looked at her, really looked at her, like he was deciding how much truth to give. Because I know what it's like to be used by someone you trust, he said finally. The vulnerability in his voice shocked her. I had a partner once, someone I built everything with. He tried to take it all, thought I wouldn't see it coming. He paused. I did, and he paid for it. The weight of those words hung in the air. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people closest to you. Petra felt something shift. She didn't trust him, but she understood him. Your husband betrayed you the moment he borrowed that money. Everything after that was just him trying to cover it up. So what now? Petra's voice was hollow. I work for you for 6 years, and then what? No, she looked up. You work for me for 6 months. Petra blinked. You said 6 years. I lied. Why? Because I wanted to see what your husband would do. I wanted to see if he'd choose you. Her stomach dropped. This was a test? Yes. And he failed. Completely. Petra's hands clenched into fists. So this was all a game to you? No. The man's voice hardened. This was a lesson. For him. And for you. What lesson? That you are worth more than he ever saw. The words hit her like a punch. The man stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city. Your husband told me you were weak, that you needed him, that you couldn't survive here without him. Petra's chest burned. But I've been watching you for 3 months, and I know he was wrong. Watching me? He turned. You felt it, didn't you? The eyes, the cars, the men in black suits. She nodded slowly. That was me. I needed to know who you were, what kind of person Marcus was trying to sell. And you're stronger than he said, smarter. You knew something was wrong. You followed him. You didn't ignore your instincts. Petra didn't know what to say. So here's the truth. You don't owe me 6 years. You don't owe me 6 months. You don't owe me anything. Her breath caught. Then why am I here? Because I wanted you to see what your husband was willing to do. I wanted you to hear him choose himself. I wanted you to know that the man you loved never existed. Tears finally came. Hot, angry, unstoppable. The man walked back to the chair, sat down, pulled a handkerchief from his pocket, handed it to her. She took it, wiped her face, hated that she was crying in front of him. You have 2 choices now. Real choices, not the ones I gave your husband. Petra looked up. Option 1. I take you to the airport tomorrow. I buy you a ticket to Lagos. I give you enough money to start over. And you never see me or your husband again. And option 2? The man's eyes were steady, serious. You stay in Seoul. You work for me, legitimately. I own hotels, restaurants, real estate. I need people I can trust, people who are smart, people who know what betrayal looks like and won't repeat it. Why would you trust me? Because you have nothing to gain by betraying me, and everything to lose. Petra stared at him. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a life, one where you're not dependent on a man who sees you as a tool, one where you have your own money, your own power. And what do you get out of it? The man smiled faintly. An employee who will work harder than anyone else, because she has something to prove. Petra laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it finally made sense. Her mind raced. This was insane. All of it. But he was right about one thing. She had nothing left. No husband, no home, no life to go back to. "If I stay," she said slowly, "what happens to Marcus?" The man's expression went cold. "He leaves Korea. Tonight. If he ever comes back, he pays his debt in full, with interest. And if he can't, then he pays another way." The threat was clear. Petra should have felt something. Sympathy. Fear for Marcus. But she felt nothing. "How long do I have to decide?" "Tonight." The man stood, walked to the door, stopped. "One more thing. The debt your husband owes. It was never 200 million won." Petra's breath caught. "What?" "It was 50 million. I inflated it, to see what he'd do, to see how far he'd go." He looked back at her. "He was willing to sell you for a debt that wasn't even real." The door opened, closed, and Petra sat alone in the silk sheets, in the room that wasn't a prison, in the life that wasn't hers anymore. She thought about Marcus, about Lagos, about everything she'd given up to be with him. And she realized something. She'd been betrayed long before tonight. She'd been betrayed the moment she believed his promises. And now, someone had to pay. Petra didn't sleep. She sat by the window and watched the city lights blur through her tears, watched the cars move below like they had somewhere to go, like their lives made sense. Hers didn't anymore. By the time the sun started to rise, she'd made her decision. There was a knock on the door. Soft, almost polite. "Come in," Petra said. The door opened. It wasn't the employer. It was the man from yesterday, the one who'd brought her here. "Mr. Min would like to see you," he said. "Downstairs." Petra stood, smoothed her clothes. She hadn't changed, hadn't showered, didn't care. She followed him down the stairs, through the pristine hallway, into a large room that looked like an office. The man, Min Jun-ho, she now knew his name, was standing by the window, a cup of coffee in his hand. He didn't turn when she entered. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "No, neither did I." He turned, looked at her. His face was as unreadable as ever. "Have you decided?" Petra met his gaze. "I'm staying." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "You're sure?" "I have nothing to go back to. No job, no money. And if I go back to Lagos, I'll spend the rest of my life explaining why my marriage failed, why I came back alone, why I couldn't make it work." She stepped closer. "Here, I have a chance to build something that's mine." Jun-ho nodded slowly. "You understand what this means? You'll work for me. You'll be seen with me. People will talk. Let them talk. Your husband will find out." "Good." Jun-ho's lips twitched. Almost a smile. "You're angry. I'm done being weak." He set his coffee down, walked toward her, stopped a few feet away. "If you stay, there are rules. You follow them. No exceptions." "What rules?" "You don't lie to me. Ever. I don't care what the truth is. I'd rather hear something I don't like than be lied to." Petra nodded. "And you don't betray me. If you ever think about it, if the thought even crosses your mind, you come to me first. You tell me. And we talk." "Why would I betray you?" "Because people do. When they think they have a better option. When they get scared. When they get greedy." "I'm not greedy. Everyone's greedy. It's just a matter of what they're greedy for." Petra crossed her arms. "And what do you think I'm greedy for?" Jun-ho tilted his head, studied her. "Freedom, control, power over your own life." He wasn't wrong. "If that's what you want, I can give it to you. But you have to earn it." "How?" "By proving you're worth the investment." He walked back to his desk, pulled out a folder, handed it to her. Petra opened it. Inside were documents, contracts, legal papers. "What is this?" "Your employment contract, 6 months. You'll work in my hotel, front desk, guest relations. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous. Just work." She flipped through the pages. "This says I'll be paid 2 million won a month. Yes. That was more than Marcus had ever given her for household expenses. And after 6 months? If you do well, I promote you. Manager, then operations, then hire. And if I don't do well, then you don't. Petra looked at him. Why are you doing this? Junho leaned against his desk. Because your husband made a mistake. He thought you were worthless, and I want to prove him wrong. You don't even know me. I know enough. Like what? I know you followed him that night, even though you were scared. I know you got in the car with my man, even though every instinct told you not to. I know you didn't break down when your husband left. You got angry. He stepped closer. Anger is useful. Fear makes people weak. But anger makes them sharp. Petra's throat tightened. What if I'm not as strong as you think? Then you'll learn. He picked up a pen, held it out to her. Sign the contract, and your life starts today. Petra stared at the pen, at the contract, at the man who was offering her a second chance. She remembered the silk sheets, the door opening, and the moment everything went wrong. She thought about Marcus, about the plane ticket to Lagos he'd bought without telling her, about the way he'd looked at her last night, like she was a problem he couldn't solve. She thought about Junho, about the way he'd tested Marcus, exposed him, gave her a choice. This wasn't love, it wasn't romance, but it was real. She took the pen, signed her name. Junho took the contract, looked at it, nodded. Welcome to your new life, Petra. She felt something shift inside her, something cold, something sharp. What happens to Marcus now? He's already gone. I had my men escort him to the airport this morning. He's on a flight to Lagos as we speak. Did he ask about me? Junho's expression darkened. No. The word cut deeper than she expected. He took the money I offered him, and he left. Petra's hands clenched. You paid him? I gave him enough to start over. 50 million won. He didn't argue, didn't hesitate, just took it and walked away. She laughed, bitter, broken. Of course he did. Junho watched her carefully. Do you want me to bring him back? No. You're sure? He made his choice. Petra's voice was ice. Now I've made mine. Junho nodded. Good. He walked toward the door, stopped, looked back. There's one more thing you should know. Petra looked up. The people your husband tried to sell you to? They're still out there. They know who you are. They know you're here. Her stomach dropped. What? I've handled it. They won't come near you. But you need to understand. The world your husband pulled you into, it doesn't forget. Are you saying I'm in danger? I'm saying you're protected, as long as you're with me. The weight of those words settled over her. So I'm not really free, Petra said quietly. Junho's eyes were steady. No one's ever really free. We just choose who we're bound to. He opened the door. Your room is ready. Your work starts Monday. Take the weekend. Rest. Process. Do whatever you need to do. And if I change my mind, you won't. How do you know? Junho looked at her one last time. Because you looked at your husband and made your decision. The door closed behind him. Petra stood alone in the office, contract in hand, new life ahead of her. She thought about Marcus, about the lies, the betrayal, the way he'd sold her for a debt that wasn't even real. And she felt nothing. No love, no regret, no sadness, just clarity. She'd spent 2 years trying to be the wife he wanted, the woman who didn't ask questions, who trusted blindly, who followed him anywhere. That woman was gone. And the woman standing in her place? She was someone new, someone harder, someone who would never be used again. She looked at her husband and made her decision. 3 months later, Petra stood in the lobby of Junho's hotel in Gangnam, the same neighborhood where her old life had died. But she wasn't the same woman anymore. She wore a tailored suit, black, sharp. Her hair was pulled back, professional, confident. She'd learned Korean, not perfectly, but enough to hold conversations, enough to give orders. She'd learned the business, how Junho's hotels operated, how his empire was built on precision and loyalty. And she'd learned him. Junho wasn't cruel. He was careful. He didn't hurt people for fun. He hurt them when they broke their word. She understood that now. A guest approached the desk. American, confused, lost. "Excuse me, do you speak English?" Petra smiled. "Yes. How can I help you?" The guest relaxed. "Thank God. I need directions to Itaewon." She pulled out a map, explained the route, recommended a restaurant. The guest thanked her, left. It was simple work, but it was hers. Her phone buzzed, a text from Junho. "My office, now." She told her colleague she'd be back in 10 minutes, took the elevator to the top floor. Junho's office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, expensive art on the walls. He was standing by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at Seoul. "You wanted to see me?" Junho turned. His face was unreadable as always. "Sit." Petra sat. He walked to his desk, pulled out a file, slid it across to her. "What's this?" "Your performance review." Her heart skipped. "Already?" "You've been here 3 months. I wanted to see where you are." Petra opened the file. Inside were reports, feedback from guests, metrics, scores. Everything was high, excellent even. "Your Korean has improved. Your guest satisfaction scores are the highest on your floor. You haven't been late once." "Thank you. I'm not complimenting you. I'm stating facts." He sat on the edge of his desk, looked at her. "You're ready for more." Petra's breath caught. "More? I'm promoting you. Manager. You'll oversee the front desk, train new staff, handle complaints, report directly to me." She stared at him. That's a huge jump. You've earned it. In 3 months? Some people earn trust in years. Others earn it in weeks. His eyes didn't leave hers. "You earned it the day you signed that contract." Petra didn't know what to say. "There's something else," Junho said. He pulled out another document, handed it to her. "What is this?" "Your visa, legal work permit, sponsored by my company, valid for 3 years. Her hands trembled. You did this? You can't work for me illegally. It puts both of us at risk. But this must have cost— I don't do things halfway, Petra. If you work for me, you work for me properly, with papers, with protection." She looked at the document, her name, her photo, legal status in Korea. This was hers. "Thank you," she whispered. Junho nodded, stood, walked back to the window. "Your husband contacted me last week." Petra's blood went cold. "What?" "He called. From Lagos. Said he wanted to talk." "About what?" "You." Her chest tightened. "What did he say?" Junho's voice was flat, emotionless. "He asked if you were still here, if you were safe, if I'd hurt you." "And what did you tell him?" "I told him you didn't belong to him anymore, and that if he ever contacted me again, I'd make sure he regretted it." Petra exhaled slowly. "Did he ask to speak to me?" "No." The word shouldn't have hurt, but it did. "He asked if you'd be willing to come back to him." Petra's hands clenched. "What?" "He said he made a mistake, that he's sorry, that he wants to fix things." She stood. "And you told him—" "I told him nothing, because it's not my decision to make." Junho turned, looked at her. "If you want to go back to him, I won't stop you. The contract you signed doesn't make you a prisoner. You're free to leave any time." Petra stared at him. "You'd let me go? Just like that?" "Yes. Even after everything you've invested in me? Especially because of that." His voice softened slightly. "I don't own you, Petra. I employ you. There's a difference." "I don't want to go back," she said quietly. "Are you sure? He left me. He sold me. He took your money and ran." Her voice hardened. "I don't owe him forgiveness." Junho nodded. "Then I'll make sure he doesn't contact you again." "How?" "You don't need to know how. You just need to trust that it's handled." Petra looked at him, this man who'd tested her, exposed her husband, given her a choice, given her a life. "Why did you really bring me here?" she asked. Junho was quiet for a long moment. "Because I saw someone being used, and I wanted to give her a chance to be something else. That's all?" His eyes met hers. "That's all." She didn't believe him. Not fully, but she didn't push. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Or Junho's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes softened. "Don't thank me yet. You still have work to do." Petra smiled. Small. Real. "Yes, sir." She turned to leave. "Petra." She stopped, looked back. "You're not the woman who walked into that car 3 months ago." "I know." "Good. Don't forget that." She nodded, left his office, took the elevator back down to the lobby. When she stepped out, she caught her reflection in the glass doors. Sharp suit, steady eyes, shoulders back. She didn't look like Marcus's wife anymore. She didn't look like someone's collateral. She looked like someone who'd survived, someone who'd chosen herself, someone who'd walked away from the wreckage and built something new. Marcus was gone. His betrayal was behind her. All of it, gone. And Petra? She was just beginning. Some beds are not for love. They are where lies finally get exposed.